about meeting starting? I'd like to note the time.
Sir,
Just note the time for the record, please.
Sir, you're out of order, please.
Sure I am.
Thank you.
We'll see you later.
I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Lawrence.
Here.
Ms. Mason.
Here.
Ms. Mayo.
Here.
And Ms. Count.
Here.
And Mr. Payton. So we are all present. I'm going to report out on closed session. So 7.1 was item number 1, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee. We have one case and the board received information. Item 7. I'm sorry, and Ms. Mayo recused yourself from that discussion. 7.2, item number 2, anticipated litigation, conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B. We had 2 cases. In first case, we received information and we gave direction. In the second case, we received information. 7.3 was negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees. And we received information and gave some direction. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to public comment. The public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of Mount Diablo Unified School District that is not on this agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. So I think we can accommodate the 3 minutes this evening. I always like to add that if you haven't participated in this process before, the role of the board during public comment is to listen. And we are governed by the Brown Act, so we're not allowed to engage in conversation, make comments, have dialogue. We may ask a clarifying question, and we also may refer the speaker to our superintendent. And we also have a little on the podium here is lights. There's a green light, and when you get closer to the end of the 3 minutes, there's a yellow light that comes on, and then when the time is up, there's a red light. Okay? So we'll start with Dennis Ranahan.
"23 years ago, I came in front of this board when my kids were at College Park High School and asked the board at the time what their priorities were, because I felt it wasn't the education of my children. They said it was. So I pointed out 6 incidents where their actions were not in alignment with what was best for the children, but what they thought was needed on their side of the dais. I come to you again tonight with that same cry. What is your priority? Because if this thing is rigged against a teacher who, when we're done with this mess, we're going to nominate for Teacher of the Year, and you had us stand up here 2 weeks ago, people after people after people after people, students, parents, teachers, talking about how wonderful Mr. Scott is, and you listened to all of us, but had already made up your mind, then this is a dog and pony show, and it's got nothing to do with what's right for the kids. Here's what I have to say to you. At that point, there was actually an exchange 23 years ago. Maybe because of that is why you have the rule now that you don't speak back. But you don't get to sit there and make decisions that are going to affect a young man's life for the rest of his life because his career is somehow being derailed by some stupid behind-the-scenes conversation. So here's my promise to you. 23 years ago, it started at a meeting like this. 12 days later, we had 28 parents talk about it. 14 days after that, we had 168 parents talk about it. And on March 26, 1996, College Park wanted to have a meeting, the board wanted to have a meeting. We had 753 parents there. And the parents were right in what they wanted, and we had all of our demands met the next day. So I'm telling you right now, you got a choice. You can either make the right decision on Mr. Scott's behalf, or you can expect 12 days, 15 days, 30 days out, and we'll have 800 parents. And then we'll see who's got the power. Because let me tell you, you just have that little chair to worry about. We have our kids to worry about. And our kids are a lot more important than your jobs. So listen to us and listen good. Either make the right decision on Mr. Scott's behavior and his job, or deal with us. But the parents are coming, and we're not letting up. You can do it now, or you can do it later. Thanks so much for listening.
Brian Calisardo?
Okay, so thank you, Dennis. Appreciate your time tonight. I appreciate each one of you. You guys are elected people. I respect your jobs. I respect the fact that you have a lot going on. And but here's the bottom line. We know what we're talking about tonight. You know why a lot of these people are here again. It's for Mr. Scott, and we're not going to go away. And we are going to press this. He's going to continue to press this. He does not want to teach anywhere else. 28 years he's been at College Park. He's a dedicated person. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. He wants to go where he has generations of kids now that he's taught, and he wants to continue to do that. And you know, each of you are in your roles, and there's a hearing, and we know that dismissal was approved for Mr. Scott. But at the end of the day, Dennis is right. The parents are going to be coming. They're going to be coming in large numbers to support this man, along with all the students that are also going to support him. And I just implore each one of you to do whatever you have the ability to do the right thing for this teacher and this person who's impacted so many lives. You heard all the testimony last time we were here 2 weeks ago. And these people will continue to come. They'll continue to support him. It's not just going to go away. And I just really am asking you guys to seriously do what you have in your power as elected officials to make this right. The principal of this school, and you heard a couple of other teachers that stated the same thing, that are currently teaching there, where this man is changing grades. He's making students think that they can just fail. Their parents should be ashamed of that behavior. If any of my 3 boys were deserving of a failing grade, that's what they would get. Because you earn what you're supposed to get, right? You don't just accept a passing grade and then graduate from high school. That's just wrong. And Mr. Scott believes in that. He gave them every chance they could get to graduate and do the work and do extra credit. And they were given a failing grade. The grade was changed. It was changed back. I know you have all this information. This will not get to a official hearing, because the parents are going to come, and they're going to come strong. And these students, it's not going to go away. So do what you can. I implore all of you to do that, please. Thank you.
Thank you. George Fulmar?
Is there other speakers than Mr. Scott?
I don't know. Dorothy England, do you want me to skip over you?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll be very brief, but I heard that some students were corralled somehow alone with the principal and asked to say that they had witnessed something like the throwing of a trash can. And the student did not, because he hadn't seen anything like that. And I've also heard that teachers, and this was last year, the student had him last year, and that teachers have also felt pressured to say that they saw
Mr. Scott do something that was in violation of whatever behavioral conduct standards had been set for him. So, you know, when somebody's gunning for you like that, how do you even go to work? You know, how do you hold your head high and teach a class? Somehow he's managed to do that. And we heard from a couple parents whose students had Mr. Scott just last year, who thought he was really inspirational, really made a difference in their lives. And this is, I think, the main year in question, because he was doing fine when Barbara Oakes was principal, and he was doing fine with the principal before that. And so I don't know. You know, I don't want to judge this principal because I don't know him. I have no experience with him. He can make mistakes too. Everyone does. And the idea is that we try to get past that and work for what is best for the kids. And so I hope people will support the principal, and I hope people will support Mr. Scott. The other question I would have is procedural. I haven't been at district meetings for a while, but in the past when someone recused themselves, and I'm not trying to call you out, Ms. Mayo, but they would kind of give an indication of why. And maybe that can't be done because of the closed session nature, I don't know. But it is helpful. I've been to several city meetings where members have recused themselves, and there's always been an explanation. So if you're allowed to do that, it would be nice to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Hine.
Good evening. Again, my son took Mr. Scott's biology class last year and was truly inspired to pursue science more vigorously, and he absolutely loved every minute of his class with Mr. Scott. He loves Mr. Scott. I am deeply troubled by the allegations I heard here 2 weeks ago. Teachers stood here and said they felt bullied. They feel pressured to raise students' grades. I heard a teacher speak about the fear of retaliation. An administrator unilaterally raising a student's grade so he or she can graduate from high school. And these allegations are coming from more than one teacher. If they are true, it is an outrage. Changing a grade so that a child can graduate from high school when that grade was not earned is akin to cheating. It degrades the value of a diploma from College Park High School. It's a slap in the face to the kids who work hard and do extra work, like my son did a lot of extra credit to earn his grade, so that they can either pass or even excel, and who have earned the honor of walking across that stage. Your website says that your philosophy is that the ultimate accountability for schools' operations rests with the board as the basic embodiment of representative government. I agree that the buck stops with you. Please fully investigate the allegations that we heard at the last meeting. Please protect the integrity of our school. Last year, Mr. Scott missed time from work because when he came to the new school year, his belongings were inexplicably gone. And then he missed time from work because of that. And the substitute teacher came in and had those kids play video games on their phones. There's no learning going on when this type of nonsense happens, where a teacher's taken out of the classroom for no good reason, or something terrible happens, like his property gets taken. Later in the year, he was placed on administrative leave, same thing. The substitute teacher came in and invited the kids to play on their phones. You know, as we agree, the buck stops with you. These kids are being robbed of their education. Every day that they are not with Mr. Scott learning biology is a day they will never get back, a day of learning that they can never again have. Mr. Scott was an unconventional but effective teacher. He inspired countless children. His impact is immeasurable. Please recognize the value that Mr. Scott brings to College Park and reinstate him. Let him get back into the classroom where he belongs. Let those video games come to an end. Let those children learn. Let him continue to inspire students and benefit our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren Rice.
Yes, good evening again. Superintendent Martinez and members of the board. It is disturbing to me that it seems that a decision was made prior to the bulk of public comment on the matter. It is gravely disturbing to me that this body sits, ostensibly at least, in support of the highest quality of education that Mount Diablo Unified School District can deliver. It disturbs me that an individual who has such a long and stellar track record of delivering that quality education in this district is being sent packing. Apparently on the crux of some matters that maybe they're of some consequence or not, but it seems like over a 25 or 30 year period, maybe every teacher might have an issue somewhere along the line, and it would have to be resolved, and it seems unusual that it would be resolved this way. I can't see how there's a justification for Mr. Scott being removed from his position for his termination. It's incongruous with the mission of this body. It's incongruous with his history as an excellent teacher. We talk about the quality of education locally, we talk about it statewide, we talk about how much money we're pouring into the system, and we have someone who's been sacrificing his life all this time to support quality of education personally, going above and beyond with each individual student, and we've heard their stories. It seems to me that the decision was hasty, it was untoward, and that it needs to be reconsidered. I really would implore you to go back and really take a closed session and reverse yourselves on this. I really think that this body is making a grave mistake that is really going to subtract from the district's ability to deliver quality education and to fulfill its mission to our students. And so I would respectfully implore all of you to sit back, take some time, look in the mirror, take a deep breath, and say what really is going on, and what does this man deserve? And I think he deserves a heck of a lot better than he's been getting. And if there's some accommodation that needs to be made or something else, I think that can be worked out. But to sacrifice a career of this level and quality over some of the specious things that I've heard is that's just a travesty.
Thank you very much. Lisa Calisardo.
This will be short. This is going to be a little bit more personal on Doug's character, and I'm really nervous right now, but makes me cry. So Doug's been a really good friend of mine for 20 years. He is passionate. He loves his job. Science is his job. It's all he thinks about. I mean, I'll go somewhere with him and we'll run into kids that he's taught. And they're like, "Hey, Mr. Scott, how you doing? Love you, man." And it's just something I've never seen before. I also have 3 boys, high school boys, and if they had someone like Mr. Scott who's that passionate about his job, I would be thrilled. We'd be blessed. I mean, that's the kind of teachers we're looking for. So if he could save his job, he is, if you knew him, had a chance to get to know him, he is awesome. And he is personable, and he means what he teaches, and that's his life. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, George Fulmore.
Is that just for Mr. Scott, any other speakers?
Okay, George, come on.
Okay. Just hold that. I want to stop the flow of that because that's good stuff. And okay, hold on. This another subject. With the prior administration, I suggested a white paper or task force on the achievement gap. I'm not saying that you didn't want to do it, just didn't get to it. So I suggested again. We know there's a so-called readiness gap. We know that at least probably a third of the The kids that come to the district come from Spanish-speaking homes, so they're probably speaking English six hours a day. We know there's an English learner program. We know there's bilingual classrooms. We know there's the reclassification process. And of course, we know there's the annual state testing, which is all in English. So, what if, when you had this annual test, all in English, the Latino kids did just as well as everybody else? Wow. You know what would happen? The people from the English-only communities would scream. They'd say, the test is bad, the district is bad, this is horrible, we're living in these overpriced homes, and these tests are the same. It can't be. So, there is an achievement gap. There's meant to be an achievement gap. That's why we have the test, to show there's an achievement gap, to show that the people who live in the high-priced homes have better schools. But I still think you should do a white paper on it, a task force on it, just to look at what are the elements involved. What does the district do well or maybe not do well? What are the realities? And finally, how do we better appreciate kids with backgrounds from other cultures? And how do we show that a second language and a second culture really do count? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that ends our public comment. We're going to move on to 9.0. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Can I speak?
Sure, go ahead. Okay.
He inspired me. Okay, so let's talk about our kids. Our kids, your kids, the kids. The generations that follow Mr. Scott. You're breaking their hearts. See the kids in the audience? I don't know those kids. Never laid eyes on them. But I'll bet they're here for a reason. Because they care. They care. People care. And you're going to have to consult with your legal counsel because you guys have made a mistake. On the record, Mr. Scott, I know you're going to watch this video, a mistake has been made on his behalf because he's a disabled American. A lot of people are disabled and mistakes have been made. You did not protect him under the American Disabilities Act. And you do have to look in the mirror at night. And I can say, when Mr. Scott calls me later, whether I'm cleaning baseboards in my cabin on 40 acres or picking walnuts, I'm going to talk to him about an attorney and lawyering up. And you guys are going to have to write a check, a big check, like you did for me. And it's not okay, because I'm a taxpayer. And I guarantee you, other than Linda, I've lived here longer than all of you, and I've paid more money than probably all of you combined for teachers' salaries. Teachers are underpaid, under-recognized. I work at a school. I'm a retired lady who doesn't have to work, and I'm a yard duty because I like kids. I like kids, and I like to see them appreciated, and you're not appreciating them when you're taking away their teacher. You need to bring him back. He's going to lawyer up. He's going to win. You're going to spend $200,000 in attorney's fees, and he's going to win. And by the time it happens, he'll have 30 years, and you're going to pay his pension. So just do the right thing. Please, I implore you, do the right thing.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to 9.0, recognitions and resolutions. 9.1, resolution 1920-12, Dyslexia Awareness Month. Dr. Martinez.
Thank you so much. So yes, we have bringing before you Dyslexia Awareness Month for October 2019. It's resolution number 1920-12, and it reads, whereas defined as an unexpected difficulty in reading in an individual who has the intelligence to be much better reader, dyslexia reflects a difficulty in getting to the individual sounds of spoken language, which typically impacts speaking, reading, spelling, and often learning a second language. And whereas dyslexia is highly prevalent, affecting 1 out of 5 individuals in some form, and is persistent. And whereas dyslexia is a paradox, so that often the same individual who has a weakness in decoding or reading fluency also has strengths in higher level cognitive functions, such as reasoning, critical thinking, concept formation, and problem solving. And whereas great progress has been made in understanding dyslexia at a scientific level, including its epidemiology and cognitive and neurobiological basis. And whereas diagnosis of dyslexia is critical and must lead to focused, evidence-based interventions, necessary accommodations, self-awareness, self-empowerment, and school and life success. Be it therefore resolved, the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District, that all schools in the district recognize that dyslexia has significant educational implications that must be addressed and be celebrated during October 2019 and throughout the year.
I'll entertain a motion. And we're going to do voice votes tonight.
Madam President, I would move that the board adopt Resolution 19/20-12, Dyslexia Awareness Month.
Second.
We have a first and a second, and we'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
Vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee votes yes, so that passes 5-0-0. Okay, oh my gosh. Okay, we're now to 9.2, Resolution 1920-13, Disability Awareness Month.
Thank you. Again, so Disability Awareness Month is also in October 2019. This is Resolution 1920-13. And it says, whereas a significant number of people with disabilities throughout history have been recognized nationally and internationally as positive role models for their significant contributions in many fields, and whereas legislation and educational reforms have paved the way for people with disabilities to fully integrate into all areas of society and all educational domains, and whereas the Mount Diablo Unified School District wishes to affirm its support of the importance of an appreciation for the diversity of all people and the importance of treating all individuals with dignity and respect, and whereas enhanced knowledge, perceptions, and understanding of disabilities and people with disabilities will be beneficial to all district employees and students. Be it therefore resolved, the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District, that all schools in the district will be strongly encouraged to teach about and celebrate disability awareness during October 2019 and throughout the year.
I would make a motion to approve Resolution 1920-13 for Disability Awareness Month.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second, and we'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Yes.
Ms. Mayo? Yes. Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee votes yes, that passes 5-0-0. Okay, we're moving on to public employee appointment, 10.1, classified personnel, appointment of occupational therapist.
Yes, we bring before you a new occupational therapist. This is Kendra Adozi. Kendra, are you here? Yes, there she is. Yay, Kendra. So Kendra is joining us. She has a master's degree from Tuskegee University in Alabama in occupational therapy. She has been working as a pediatric occupational therapist at a Therapy at Play in San Ramon. She's actually also coached some basketball, I believe, over in the neighboring school district, but that's okay. And again, has worked as an occupational therapist at the Joy and Laughter Developmental Therapy Pediatric Clinic in San Jose. And she has a number of personal interests here, and we're just thrilled to bring somebody of Kendra's experience and knowledge into the district.
Thank you.
Madam President, I would recommend that the board approve item 10.1, the appointment of Kendra Adozi to appoint for a role of occupational therapist.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second, so we'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
Ms. Durkee votes yes, it passes 5-0-0. Congratulations. Kendra, do you want to come down and say something, or maybe introduce any special guests you have? You can do it. Just come say hello.
I had to do it too a couple of weeks ago, so you can do it.
So obviously, I'll include you into this part, right?
I'm coaching fifth grade girls basketball, so you have some free time now.
Yeah, you know, I love basketball, so it's just an honor to be here. I'm really, really excited to be a part of the district, and I just thank you all for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we can go to 10.2, classified personnel appointment of senior administrative executive assistant to the superintendent.
I am so thrilled to bring the name of Emily Everhart to you. Emily, she happens to know me a little bit because she was the administrative assistant to the assistant superintendent of human resources in the Fairfield Sassoon Unified School District. Yeah, she just happened to apply, but no, prior to that, Emily has done a fantastic job within advancing through the ranks in Fairfield Sassoon, through different clerical positions, working in child nutrition services, working directly with the at-risk assistant director in human resources prior to working as my administrative assistant. She brings several associate arts degrees in social and behavioral sciences and sociology from Santa Rosa Junior College. She enjoys spending time with Maya. I think I saw Maya out there. Hi, Maya. And she looks forward to being again with the Mount Diablo Unified School District and getting to know everybody in our community. And Emily Everhart.
Madam President, I move that we approve item 10.2, the appointment of Emily Everhart to Senior Administrative Executive Assistant to the Superintendent.
I'll second that.
Great. We have a first and a second. We'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo? Yes. Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Mr. Key is yes, so that passes 5-0. Thank you.
There's a few files on the desk if you want to. No, not tonight? Okay, too early?
Next week we'll start that. I'm going to make this brief. Hello, nice to see you all again. I'm very excited to be here. You got a very awesome superintendent, and I could not stay behind, so here I am. We're excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so we now go to board member reports, and I should go last, but I just want to make one announcement first, so that others can comment if they like. And that is the fact that our wonderful new superintendent, Dr. Robert Martinez, is actually being honored by the Association of California School Administrators, ACSA, for a Ray Curry Award for his work in human resources, as human resources director in Fairfield Sassoon Unified School District, and assistant super, right? Yeah. Mr. Curry is a renowned human resource professional and pioneer, making this a very prestigious award for Dr. Martinez. So I just want to extend our congratulations to you, and we knew we picked the right guy, so congratulations. For the rest of mine. So Mr. Lawrence, do you want to share your report or a report?
Sure. I would just say, I think back to my time when I was a member of the audience, and there are often things that I heard about that the board was doing in closed session, and it was very frustrating to not know what those things are. But due to one, both the state and federal laws, and two, frankly, I think due to common decency, there is a requirement of privacy. And so I think you often hear people say, well, I heard this, or that the board has taken this action, and many times that is not true. And as a board member, it's often frustrating that you're not in a position to share complete and accurate information. And so I often regret that, but at the same time, I think that the privacy of our students and our employees is paramount, and we'll continue to abide by that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
I will be brief as well. I went to Riverview's back to school night, and it's always interesting for me because I'm running into people I went to high school there with when we go around the corner, and it's a little bit of deja vu, but it was very well attended, and staff was very welcoming. And as I've shared before, I represent the district on the Racial Justice Oversight Committee, and we had our first meeting of this year, and I am on the data collection subcommittee, so I'll be bugging Dr. Martinez for data, I'm sure, in the future. And perhaps at some point you can attend one of the meetings with me as well, Dr. Martinez. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Mayo?
Thank you. On September 3rd, Ms. Durkee and I attended the Special Education Community Advisory Committee meeting that was held here in this room. There was great information shared, an overview of special education. There were many new faces as far as parents were concerned, and of course many staff members attend to speak about the various services provided for our special education students. Hopefully some of these new faces will opt to become members of CAC. They have to attend, I believe it's 3 meetings, and then submit an application, and then the board considers them to be members of the CAC. CAC meets the first Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. and there's plans in December for an earlier start time so that students and parents can have a special holiday session together. On September 4th, Dr. Martinez joined the Mount Diablo Council of PTA's meeting. We had an exciting meeting with a lot of conversation, and parent leaders shared their successes for the start of the schools, and then they provided support to one another around leadership, things like being treasurer or president or those types of roles. Today, Dr. Martinez joined me for a reception at the Rossmore Scholarship Foundation, and annually this group awards more than $150,000 in scholarships to nearly 50 students annually, primarily from Mount Diablo high schools. Some are also from Diablo Valley College, and a few from Acalanes Union School District. We had the opportunity to meet and thank donors and their 27 members on their board of directors. Can you imagine a board of directors of 27 members? But when you consider that in 52 years they've awarded 1,700 scholarships totaling over $4 million, these folks know how to, what shall I say, run an operation and a nonprofit. And because it's an all-volunteer board, there are very few expenses for the organization. We were invited by Kathy Cook, who is a Concord High School work experience person for the Concord High School students, and she also serves as a director. So it was an exciting event. And next time you hear anything about Rossmore Scholarship Foundation, please say, yes, I've heard about them, and they're doing good work for students in the Mount Diablo School District and in the Walnut Acalanes area as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Count?
Thank you. I want to start with some gratitude. Thank you to Dr. Martinez for visiting so many schools and groups in just a few short weeks. Really, it's wonderful to see you getting out there and collaborating with people. And congratulations on your Human Resources Award as well. The past couple of weeks I attended 3 key things. One was the chalk art at Gregory Gardens, and then back to school night at YV High and their first football game over there, and then a CSBA input session in Sacramento. On chalk art, this was run or funded by the MDUSD Education Foundation, and I don't know if everyone saw, there was a clip on KPIX News that featured our district and the largest illustrated story chalk art project, so it's really fantastic to see what our community can do when we come together. The principal did an incredible job being interviewed there as well. I think that all of my colleagues know this, but I am no longer in an executive role with the foundation. I'm a non-voting ex officio volunteer at this point with the foundation. So I'm looking forward to all of our board and staff, continuing to support this nonprofit district-wide organization, because I really think it has the capacity to grow to become a key piece of our financial puzzle of education funding for our public schools. And I know that that Dr. Martinez has reported on an upcoming run, so happy to get on my running shoes and walk or run with all of you. back to school night at YB High was a good time, and the first high school football game that they had was a blowout win. Very exciting. And then lastly, the CSBA, thank you to Ms. Mayo for inviting me to attend. This was, so CSBA is the California State School Boards Association, and they had just a short input session on growth models for statewide assessment. So just a little bit of background that I would like to share from that is that California is one of only 2 states that are without a growth model for academic accountability. And the State Board of Education is considering what models would be best for California's K-12 system. So our dashboard right now, when you look at the dashboard, it reports status and change in student math and ELA test scores at the school and at the district level, and generates a rating based on those 2 indicators. But what we don't have is something that tracks how much individual students grow academically from one year to the next. So currently we're comparing, say, for example, one group of 8th grade math scores to the prior year's group of 8th grade math scores, which was a different group of students, right? California is required to move to this growth model, and they're just looking at some different possibilities. Different states have chosen different things. Ultimately, what the goal of the model is not to evaluate individual teachers or principals. That would ask different questions, but it's to allow the state to be able to clearly identify which schools or districts or student groups may need help or focused resources from the state. So if my colleagues have any input that you would like to give, Mary Briggs is the CSBA analyst who's putting the feedback and the report together, and I'm happy to share more information with you as well. But we can email her at mbriggs@csba.org. And lastly, the CCC-SBA is another group that a few of us are involved with, with Ms. Mayo as well. It's the Contra Costa County School Boards Association, and we have an upcoming event that we've helped organize on October 3rd, and it is equity and integration in schools. And this is specifically for school board members across Contra Costa County, and it features Stephen Menendian from the Haas Institute for a Fair and Inclusive Society, and he will be giving us policy options for school boards, and he has a lot of experience in that area. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to add a couple things. One is the meeting that Ms. Mayo talked about, the Community Advisory Committee meeting. For special ed, there were 2 announcements or sharing information. One is the Suicide Prevention Community Forum on Thursday, September 12th, 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at San Ramon Community Center. It's about suicide prevention awareness, ways to support those affected by suicide and self-care. They're going to be gathering input, and it's sponsored by the Contra Costa Crisis Center and the Contra Costa Behavioral Health for Division of Contra Costa Health Services. And then there's also, it just says 2019 Vision for the Future, the educational opportunities for students with disabilities, Saturday, October 26th, 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Chabot College. And there's it's a $20 registration fee and a whole day of, not a whole day, but a half day of information about being a special ed students and resources, etc. So anybody can contact me if you want more information on those. I thought those were worth sharing. So, and also just for the board to know that working on with Dr. Martinez and the facilitator to organize another governance meeting. It's good timing with our new superintendent. So more to come on that, more information, and trying to solidify dates too. So now we'll transition to our superintendent's report.
All right. Well, out of an interest of time, I won't belabor a number of things that we've talked about. It's just been great, quite frankly, having the opportunity to connect at our school sites, in our community, with our local other institutions of higher education and learning. Getting out to Cal State East Bay last week, having a meeting with the Chancellor of Contra Costa Colleges, really talking about, again, the work that we need to do all together at many different levels. It's inspiring to see, again, our students and what they're accomplishing in the academic field, in the performance field, on the playing field. I mean, it's just great that our students have these many opportunities. I did have the pleasure to meet with all of our principals last Thursday morning, and it was the first time, it's only been 3 weeks, to see all of them in one place. And again, they do need their own professional development, and so I was able to talk with them for, yes, a couple of hours. It was a long time, but at the end, again, these issues of connecting with them as individuals, which is what I aim to do, connecting with them and helping them see their importance of being a leader on their sites is so essential in working with all of our employees for all of our students. So those are important things to me, and again, just making those connections. And I finally have started getting all of the calendar invites. Well, come on out and come on out. So we're going to get to more schools as well. What I want to do is make sure and get a plug out for the Friday letters. I don't know if anybody in the audience is reading them. A few people, though, seem to see them, and they like them. Because I do feel, out of the sense of transparency, that I want to let our students and our educators and our community know the many, many wonderful things that are happening every day, every week. And that is one of the big things about getting that information out there. So please share it on social media. I think we're getting it out there, and just please keep sharing that. And if you have feedback, please send it to me. That's okay. Or something you want me to include, send it to me. Board Member Lawrence, you kind of mentioned this, and I just did want to read something just to be clear. This information is not specific to any one employee. However, both our classified and our certificated employees that are contracted employees have job rights pursuant to Education Code, pursuant to the collective bargaining agreements that they have. So whenever there is a consideration for any employee action for a contracted employee, we are taking the due diligence that's followed and prescribed by Education Code within collective bargaining agreements. And again, I just want to assure the public that the district takes any and all circumstances of any potential employee discipline under great consideration. We will follow the processes and procedures. As Brian, you mentioned, that oftentimes means out of privacy rights, out of employee rights, there will not be a lot of forthcoming information. And if anybody has ever really tracked or followed anything having to do with employees, sometimes that takes some time. And I understand sometimes people want immediate resolution to things that the process says takes time. So I just wanted to mention that to you. We are striving to follow our due diligence in every and any situation. We do have, again, the one more trustee area meeting this coming Wednesday. So please, that'll be happening at Meadow Homes at 5:30. Information is on the website. Thank you.
Yeah, and I meant to say that I wanted to thank the staff, Dr. Martinez, for adding that meeting. It came out of directly from the community as well, so I was really happy to see that we were able to do that, so thank you for that. Okay, we're going to move on to reports and information, 13.1. Oops. Oh, PowerPoint's coming up, okay. I thought we lost you. Let's see, what does it say? Adult education and lifelong education program courses and classes for 2019. I'll let Dr. Martinez introduce this.
That's all right. My apologies. We're looking again to provide information about our adult school programs, and we have Victoria Abate here to talk about the programs. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Can you cue it? I don't. The PowerPoint, please. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Good evening to our Board of Trustees, President Durkee, members of the board, Superintendent Martinez, to our community members and my district colleagues. My name is Victoria Bate, Director of College and Career and Adult Education. And thank you, Dr. Martinez, for providing the opportunity this evening to present an overview of the programs and services of adult education of MDUSD. There we go. Thank you so much. This is related to 18.5 on the agenda. Annually, we are required by the Department of Education to present our course offerings for our approved programs, for programs that are approved year by year. And it's been our practice to include all our academic programs as well as our community education programs, which I'll talk about a little bit, which are not required anymore to be approved by the CDE, but we like to have listed as well and approved by our board, as much for transparency as any other reason. So I'm going to share some photos and information, if I may, about our programs and the students we serve as a snapshot of the breadth and depth scope of our programs, which we offer. And then I'll hone in on two specific programs that support our TK to 12 school system. The first being our Adults with Disabilities program, which you see up there, for students, and all our adult programs, just a reminder, are for students 18 years and above. We have a large stretch of students in the 18 to 24, 26 range, and then of course beyond that. The AWD programming supports the development of adults in our community for independence, work readiness, personal growth, and participation in the community. It's in an atmosphere that really promotes self-acceptance, mutual respect, self-determination, choice, dignity, and personal fulfillment. We have a variety of programs. Because of the need to be brief tonight, I won't go into them, but I encourage you to come to our site at the Loma Vista Adult Center and see some of our programs in action and the variety within the Adults with Disabilities program. We also have the Adult Basic Education program, which is for adults who have less than an 8th grade education or who need to improve their reading and communication and math skills. These are adults who attend programs to improve their skills for career technical education prep programs, find a job, re-enter the workforce, retain a job, for job promotion, and sometimes, very often, to model for their own children the importance of attaining these critical skills. And many of these adults go on to pass one of the national high school proficiency exams, like the Pearson VUE GED exam, or the HiSET, which is the high school equivalency test by the Educational Testing Service, both of which Adult Ed of Mount Diablo Unified is authorized to administer. And in 1819, the secondary program graduated 42 adult students with a high school diploma and awarded 31 high school equivalency certificates for a total of 73 high school graduates. We also offer after-school concurrent enrollment classes and summer school for credit recovery for our high school students enrolled at our comprehensive high schools, who are students who are credit deficient and at risk of not completing their requirements or graduating with their class. In 1819, we served 176 of these students to get them back on track for timely graduation with their classmates, and 139 of them achieved that and did so. And just to make sure everyone is aware that our high school classes taught in adult education are taught by K-12 credentialed teachers. One of our big programs is our Career Technical Education Center programs, which in 2014 we achieved national accreditation from the Council on Occupational Education, which is a premier accrediting body in the U.S. for career technical education post-secondary programs. And since that time, our administrator who oversees the program, our 2 CTEC coordinators, faculty, instructional support, and our clerical staff have really worked hard to enhance the quality and integrity of the 5 program areas of CTEC, which are accredited, and a new one now as of 2018-19, which is our new Certified Nursing Assistant Program, which is a healthcare pathway program for Contra Costa County. And here on the slide, you'll see photos going clockwise of our students and faculty in our EMT, office professional, medical assistant, surgical technologists, and dental assistant programs, all part of our Train for a Career in Under a Year programming. Mount Diablo Adult Ed is also Title IV Pell authorized, which allows qualifying students to receive Pell Grant funding for these courses, covering most, if not all, their training costs and more. Lifelong Education is a fee-based program. Our fee-based programs are Pleasant Hill Education Center. They're long-standing, highly rated, and well-attended community education programs that attract adult students from all over the East Bay. The lifelong education programs at Pleasant Hill are self-sufficient, receiving no state or adult education funding, and solely supported by student fees, which are competitive with those of our local and regional parks and recreation programs. And you see a few of these programs illustrated here on this slide. They do a good job of being self-sufficient annually. And I want to refer to this particular infographic, which was prepared by, you'll see at the bottom, a few of our regional and local community partners. It's about the opportunity gap for children across Contra Costa County who are disadvantaged in being ready to start school, and particularly in Mount Diablo Unified, where a number of our community-based organizations have illustrated that have researched that as many as 26% of the children who in our community who come to our elementary schools are not yet school ready to start kindergarten. So here again, to help close this gap, Adult Education Division offers two important programs. The first is our ESL and Family Literacy program. Our centers, which have childcare available, are connected to our preschool programs taught by credentialed preschool teachers. And these are at sites throughout Mount Diablo Unified. Some of the sites are, and the programs are Loma Vista Adult Center, of course, Riverview Middle School in Bay Point, Bel Air Elementary, and Cambridge and Meadow Homes Elementary, where we've offered these programs at our family literacy centers there since the late 90s. We teach parents and other family members helping to raise their children in our schools the English they need for successful integration in the community, and to help their children be successful in school, and to teach the parents how to interact and volunteer in their children's schools, which many of them do. We accept parents of children 0 to 5 in these programs, and these preschools are first 5 of Contra Costa County supported school readiness programs, and again, taught by credentialed preschool teachers. And the counterpart to the family literacy centers are our parent education programs, which serve families and are supported with LCFF dollars that support our parents in the community with children in the school. Our certificate parenting class for families who are court-ordered to take these endorsed classes, as well as for parents at any stage of raising children. We have workshops for teens and parents on anger management, as well as drug and alcohol abuse, where teens and parents learn together how to manage these family issues. These programs are taught at Loma Vista, and we also do provide services directly at the school sites upon request by the principals and the families at those schools. The co-op program is a counterpart to the family literacy, and it's for children 16 to 23 months. These are parents and children who attend together. Parents have a hands-on opportunity to learn how to provide age-appropriate activities and learning experiences. The focus here in these programs, slightly different than the family literacy, are really on the child's social, emotional, and physical development. These preschools attached to the Parent Ed program are also supported with First 5 Contra Costa County funding. We have classes for children 2 to 3 years of age and one for 4-year-olds. The programs are at Loma Vista, Bel Air, Fair Oaks, and Hidden Valley. All classes are free to all families living within the districts, the boundaries of our school district. For those living outside, they pay a small fee, which is very, very reasonable. A quick look at a slide of a country count report we do annually. just to show the variety, if you notice, the variety of countries, nationalities, ethnicities, and languages represented in our, specifically in this case, our adult ESL and our citizenship preparation programs, but it really represents our entire student body across all of our program areas. And the next slide is to show you the families that we serve, particularly through our family literacy programs and our parent ed preschool programs, so our co-op programs and our family literacy, to give you an idea of the number of families, most with multiple children, who are served, and these are the latest figures we have that were certified by the state from 17-18. And if you'll notice, we have served a total of 309 families with preschool children that year. A quick look at our accreditations. I won't go into this. You can see we have national, state, and regional accreditations, which we maintain and we are very proud of. One final piece of data, I think this is the final data info, to show the number. This is our annual data sheet. We do this every year to show our community and our colleagues and to report out our unduplicated enrollment, which has been certified by the Department of Education. And a copy of this, our new fall catalog, and the Opportunity Gap infographic, which I just mentioned, will be in a folder that we prepared for each of you, and I will give you. And last, I think this is my last slide. Thank you for bearing with me. An overview, which I think this is important to understand the change up in adult education that many of you are aware of. We've gone through in the last number of years, since 2013-14 in particular, actually 2008-9 with reductions, but really the momentum in 13-14. So we now have in California legislated 71 consortia statewide, which the requirement for a consortium regionally is a minimum of one school district and one college or community college district. In Contra Costa County, we have our consortium called the Contra Costa County Adult Education Consortium. Our institutions are listed there: Mount Diablo, Martinez, Acalanes, West Contra Costa, Pittsburgh, Antioch, Liberty in Brentwood. The Contra Costa County Office of Education, because they have programs that serve students directly in the jail ed, and of course our three colleges, Diablo Valley, Los Medanos, and Contra Costa. Our regional funding for this current year, 1920, is $15,179,831. Of that, Mount Diablo receives $3,646,070, which is a slight increase from 2018-19. This is representative of a combined base amount, which is dedicated ongoing funding through the state apportionment process, and some additional funding we receive through our consortium process. And we are working toward our ongoing program alignment regionally with the colleges for the pre-K to adult school districts that are mentioned here, based on our CD approved 3-year plan for 2019-2022 and our annual plan for 19-20. And you can see we have we are creating bridges for pathway development, both to the colleges and to jobs. And we are also working on, which I didn't mention here, the pathway programs from K-12 to adult ed to the community colleges, and creating that seamless pathway for our students within our K-12 district. And last but not least, knowledge is power, and we're ready to serve our students, the adult learners in our community, who are the families, friends, colleagues, and community members of Mount Diablo Unified. Thank you.
Please.
So I know I'm getting signed, Martha. I didn't request this. Right, Dr. Martinez? Nope. I didn't ask for it. I was surprised to see it on the agenda, but I think you did a great job.
So I would certainly second that, but 3 things that I wanted to touch on is, one, I know when I first became involved with our school district, when I talked about our students, I always referred to our kids which is obviously a critical part of our mission, but I think it's so important that we talk about the huge community that we serve and what a huge impact adult ed has. Two, I wanted to make sure to point out, I think it's pretty amazing just reading the sampling of some of the lifelong education classes. We've got drawing, still life, portraits, baklava night, chow mein without the telephone, how to use iCloud, how to use Apple Pay and Wallet, and welcome to Medicare. So it's just an incredible array of classes for just about any possible interest that you could have. And then third would be a request, which is in years past, we've actually had adult ed students who've come to the board, and I've missed them. It's been a while since we had them, and if at all possible, if there's interest, I would love to see them come back, because I think when we actually, the presentation was wonderful, but when we actually have some of those students come and share their stories and their successes, I just think it's incredibly powerful and a great testament to the work that's being done there. That would be our request.
Thank you. And we would be happy to comply, and probably at the next board meeting, actually, we will have a few attending, parents and some children.
Fantastic.
I would like to just second all that's been said here. I'm so glad you came and gave this presentation. I think it was perfect timing with our new superintendent to have an awareness of adult education in our district. And it is sometimes things that's a whole area that people are not aware of. And so thank you for bringing that. I think it's one of the jewels of our district, and especially the way that the programs all intersect with each other. I've been so impressed. Every program that I've visited, whether it's been the preschool co-op or like surgical tech, the how did you say that, the
Surgical technology.
job in a year, what
Yes, trained for a career in
trained for a career in a
year.
year. I love it. So thank you. So whether you requested it or not, I think I'm glad that this happened today. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, and we'll move on to the next agenda item. The next report, which is Avid, report on Avid. I don't know if you want to introduce this.
Sure, yeah. So again, what we're trying to do is make sure on some of these information items that maybe the board will take action on, that we have an opportunity to hear a little bit of the information. So we have Jennifer Sachs, who's here with the team. I'm going to let you introduce everybody, Jennifer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good evening, Dr. Martinez, President Turkey, Board of Trustees, community members. As you can tell, Avid folks roll deep, so I am here with a very, very strong team of individuals. Curriculum specialist Susan Hartwig, Jeannie Johnson, our teacher on special assignment who specializes in Avid, Elizabeth Frankie Law, who is our principal at Rio Vista, Kevin Honey at Sequoia Middle School, and Ryan Felsgraf, who is at Concord High School. So thank you for being here this evening. Avid, so what does Avid mean? Advancement via individual determination. And just a little background about Avid. Avid was created by one exceptional teacher down in San Diego who recognized that students from low-income families without a college-going tradition could exceed in high school and reach to new heights. It was really in 1980 that Mary Catherine Swanson was teaching at a high school in San Diego that was in the process of being desegregated. And as other teachers were being, very, very nervous about the students that were coming into their school and whether or not they could succeed, she just really took a look at these students and saw that they could absolutely succeed with the right opportunities and support. So the simple formula has remained the same since 1980. Raise expectations for students, and then with the Avid support system in place, our students will rise to the challenge. Oops. There we go. So what is Avid? It includes a couple different critical pillars. A school-wide college readiness system. It's a structured approach to rigorous curriculum. Direct support structure for first-generation college students, but it's not just for first-generation college students. And I think that's something that's a misunderstanding still in some of our communities. It's also intense professional learning for our educators. This is something that actually we spent a couple hours today planning to ensure that all of our teachers, regardless of what level, elementary, middle, and high, would be receiving rigorous professional development this year in the strategies of Avid. So college readiness, what exactly does it mean? Well, within the Avid world, it's really making sure that students are prepared to leave our high schools for post-secondary and enroll and succeed without remediation. And that's kind of important because as a parent of two college students, as they walk into college, if they are taking remediation courses, it is a concern for me because are they actually prepared for a college education? It's also a concern because some of these courses do not count towards college graduation. So we end up paying for classes that possibly do not count as credits that that student will need to earn in order to walk across that stage with a BA or a BS degree. So this is something that AVID takes very, very seriously, and starting from the very, very wee ones in our transitional kindergarten class all the way up through high school, we really take this college readiness theme extremely seriously at our AVID sites.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? So, when you come into a classroom, you start to wonder, what does AVID actually look like? And when you walk into a classroom, you'll see many things happening. And some of the things that AVID does is it develops readers and writers. That might come in the form of focused notes, which is actually something we often take for granted that kids just know how to do, but they don't always. And so the focused notes are something that you'll probably see if you go into an AVID classroom. So keep an eye out for them. And they also help to, the AVID systems actually help you to, students to look at ways to interact with those notes. Another process sometimes that we take for granted. And it really minimizes that curve of forgetting. The next thing you might see is the development of content knowledge from a deeper level. You might see work with the COSTAS levels, and then also you'll see teaching in content-specific areas. So if you walked into a classroom, you might see with the speaking and listening, you might see Socratic seminars or philosophical chairs, some really deep and rich work. You can see students doing those kinds of things. Also, you'll see a development of some executive function skills that we also sometimes take for granted that students might just have. And so AVID unpacks what it takes to become an organized student and an organized member of a school. So over the course of the last few years, since 2015, we've been methodically building our AVID presence in this district through very well-planned and guaranteed common professional development modules. It's great when a classroom can have a great teacher and everyone's doing great in that classroom, but we're really concerned about the systems that support all of our students. And so AVID really does push that idea that all students should have access to the same awesome curriculum that you can get when you're working with the AVID, in the AVID groove. So we started with just 4 sites in 2015, and now we're up to 21. So we're really excited about that, and that's actually, it's been a real methodical journey. What you'll also see when you see any kind of AVID going on is there's 4 domains, and in any kind of an organization, there's going to be domains that look similar to this. And they're the 4 domains of rapid school improvement. I liken this to a car. So each of the domains is one of the wheels, and when one of the wheels doesn't have enough air in the tires, the drive gets a little bit rocky and wonky. So we work very hard in the AVID domains to keep them balanced and to keep them strong. These aren't new to the world in business or schools, but what AVID does is it helps to unpack it and make it very known and named that these are the domains that we're working in. So I'm going to hand it off.
Good evening. I'm here to talk a little bit more about what goes on in the AVID elective, which is in the secondary level. There we go. So on a typical week in the AVID elective, we do tutorials twice a week, and this is another technique that really ups the rigor and really puts the learning and the inquiry in the hands of the students. So they're doing the talking, they're doing the thinking, which is really important. They will also take, they do college visits, go on field trips. They have guest speakers who talk about careers that that they can share with the students. And then we come back to the instruction piece, which Susan talked a lot about AVID School-wide. Just kind of an example of, she mentioned Socratic seminar. So I could just break down these AVID strategies that go on, which are under the pillar of instruction. They're, if you take the Socratic seminar, for example, they're reading a text and they're taking focused notes. As they read, there's AVID reading strategies, literacy strategies that they're involved in. And then they're organizing their notes, doing extra research, collaborating with colleagues, with students in the class, and then it becomes a large conversation that the teacher isn't even involved in. So that's kind of the beauty of AVID, and that's really why it supports all students, these strategies. And I'm going to turn it over to Liz Lanfranchi-Law, who is the principal at Rio Vista Elementary.
Good evening. I'm thrilled to be here tonight and talk to you about something I'm really passionate about, and that's our AVID program at Rio Vista. So when people hear me talk about AVID, they're like, wait, you have AVID at elementary? Why do you have AVID at elementary? Isn't that just a class they take in high school? But the reality is the Wicker program, those Wicker skills are really vital starting in elementary school. So the writing, the inquiry, the collaboration, the organization, all of that is really vital for student success. We don't teach note-taking overnight. We need to start teaching it in our primary grades. Otherwise, students will be lost in the secondary grades. I used to be a 6th grade middle school teacher, and I can tell you, organization, a huge problem for our middle school students. It's really important that we're starting them young and teaching them those skills today. So these skills don't develop overnight, which is why we have the AVID Elementary program. So what exactly does AVID Elementary look like? It's rigorous instruction with an emphasis on Wicker. It's all about student engagement and collaboration. It's building a college-going culture where we can teach students to set and meet goals. At Rio Vista, I'm really excited. In the past year, we've gone from a site where we only had 1 teacher trained to now having 9 teachers trained on our site instructional leadership team. We're rolling out AVID school-wide this year, and we're really trying to achieve AVID certification. So hopefully that will be coming down this year. Implementing AVID at Rio Vista has had a tremendous impact not only on our students, but also on our teachers and our entire community. So for our teaching staff, it's given them a common language and structure, as well as protocols to ensure that all students are successful. In terms of our students, this is where we've seen the biggest impact. We've now had a common set of skills that we could build upon with our students. So we're teaching those 2 and 3 column notes to our kindergartners and 1st graders, so that by the time they're in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, they can be doing Cornell notes successfully. Our teachers can now build upon that year after year. In terms of our parents and community members, it's given them common language to talk about college and career readiness and goal setting with our students. We know that it's never too early to start having those conversations. We would love to have you come out and visit our site and see some of the great work we're doing. We're really proud of it, and we're really looking forward to just preparing students for lifelong academic achievement. It's my pleasure to hand off this presentation to Kevin Honey, who will talk to you about what AVID looks like at the middle school level.
Thank you, Liz. Good evening. We are very excited about our AVID program at Sequoia Middle School. Currently, we have, hold this. Currently, we have both the 7th and 8th grade AVID elective standalone course, as well as AVID rotation for most of our 6th grade students that take AVID for about 9 weeks. So the goal is over a 3-year period that everyone gets the direct instruction of AVID during their tenure at Sequoia. But our AVID elective and rotation courses do not stand alone at Sequoia, and AVID school-wide is the plan. We're one of the handful of schools that has been, what's it called? Certified? We're certifiable. We've been certified, so that means we've met the marker, which is great, but the goal is for a growth model to keep on getting better. And Wicker, a lot of times with the writing and reading on the end are standard what we do in schools, but we kind of focus in the middle a little bit more. We have AVID protocols with organization. We're a little old school with our agendas that all students do that, all teachers press, that students keep organized. And for the 6th and 7th grade young men, that can be more of a challenge, but it's something we're working on. All classrooms are set for collaboration. We ditched several of the desks in our school and now almost exclusively tables, or you have collaborative seating arrangements, so that fits the C of the collaboration. And last year, our PD for site-wide was a focus on focused note-taking. Liz talked about that a little bit, and how students can interact with their notes multiple times for the process. Not just take notes once, but to work through the notes, and it shows how you can learn by working them multiple times. This year, kind of our growth model is on inquiry, to let students continue to explore materials, ask questions, and share ideas. The AVID model works at our school. We continue to let it grow, and we're excited about its potential for our students. Next up is Ryan Falscroft from Concord High.
Thank you, everyone. I appropriately brought the stole that we give to our AVID students when they graduate because I think it's one of that marker that just makes them feel real good. I'm happy to say we're one of the 4 school pioneers that started in 2015. And actually, one of my teachers came to me and said, Leah Darby, some of you know her as my leadership teacher, came and said, I think I found the program that can help our middle kid. Concord High, if you've been to us, you know us, we're kind of like the epic middle child. So we have in a good way, yes. But she said, I think I might have a solution. And we had no idea that it would grow to the proportion that it has in our district, which we're excited about. Our challenge is how do we stay relevant now that we have kids who are in elementary school in Abbott and then they come to middle school and they're like, you're still talking about Cornell notes. So we're trying to find ways that we can get them engaged in the bigger process. And so some of the things that we've done is we've looked at how we can engage them in the college going culture at school. One of our grade levels works on planning Commitment Day. May 1st is National Commitment Day for college. So one of our classes, the junior class, focuses on organizing our National Commitment Day. We're trying to get our freshmen to do some college posters, but they're still young little minds we've got to mold, but trying to get them each involved in the bigger picture of Concord High and what college means to our campus. Get to my notes here again. I think one of the most important things for us, and I think that all of my colleagues can agree, is the teachers that work behind the scenes on this are extremely valuable. And the most important thing that we can do as administrators is give them the time and space to make this work. So one of the things we've tried to do at Concord High is make sure that all of our site team members have common prep periods, which is very challenging. But if we can have them all have common prep periods where they don't feel that they're giving up their class to a substitute and they can come together, it makes it so much easier to come freely and willingly and be ready to engage in the process. This year we did something innovative, although it seems really logical, is we put all of our AVID classes the same period. We didn't do that the first year because we had one teacher teaching 2 levels, but this year we said we're going to put them all the same period. We've already seen profound impacts of being able to bring all 9 through 12 grade AVID kids together, and we've done some team building things already just to say, you know, here little baby AVID 9th graders, this is where you're going to be when you're a senior. It helps connect them. Our seniors actually last year planned the first ever team building day. So that was the project we gave the seniors. We're like, you're expert. We want you to plan an AVID-wide team building. So they did a field trip all day long where they did some team building, which was really cool, included all the teachers. We, like Mr. Honey, we've worked on trying to bring strategies school-wide. It is a challenge when you have 75 teachers, but it's just good teaching practices. So we've tried to integrate and model good AVID strategies in our staff meetings, in our PD, just to get it out there so we can eventually hopefully get school-wide and be helping our kids every day in every class, whether they're in the AVID program or not, practicing these skills. Because even though elementary school and middle school are still bad at organization, they get to high school, it's still there as well. And like I said, finally, a couple years ago, when we had our first graduating class, we bought the stoles, and we actually had some kids who were thinking about getting out of AVID. And when some of the juniors, well, they were trying to get out of AVID, we'll say, when the juniors saw those stoles, it meant something more. And something that tangible, like I was part of something, and I get aware and show what I'm part of. So it's a powerful program. We've seen it work, and I'm excited to be, that's our 5th year. And like I said, the high school though, now we've got kids who are coming in and some of the content is repetitive. So how are we gonna make it more meaningful to them when they've practiced this for maybe potentially now 6 or 7 years? Thank you.
So as you can tell, there's a lot of passion around AVID in our district. The AVID organization is quite specific with the data that they collect from our school sites. We are annually providing them information about our student demographics, student college going rate, their grades, if they're taking advanced courses. So it is something that they are very, very clearly interested in making sure that these strategies are one that when they do say this has worked at our schools for 30 years for students that in the past may not have had been successful with the post-secondary success that this absolutely is. And I just want to really thank the 21 AVID principals and the staff members because this is something that they agreed to take on collectively. And Susan Hartwig and Jeannie Johnson, who've been huge supports of the AVID program over the last couple of years. And this item, the contract is coming up for your approval later tonight.
So we're starting to get the idea of these presentations. This works logical. I actually have a question, if I could. I have a feeling you may not be able to answer it, so don't feel badly, but I'm just wondering about, do you know what the perception of AVID is among the students?
well, I guess at all levels, yeah. I mean, what do students think, you know, of what Avid is all about? And you have those that are in and those that are not in. Is there any?
You can take.
Come on. Again, maybe it's not answerable. I don't know. Just curious.
I actually taught the Avid elective years ago at Mount Diablo High School, and then most recently at El Dorado Middle School. And at first, it's like the class that you have to work hard. You know, the elective. You know, in middle school you get electives, and you know you want the fun ones, and it's like they get in my class, and it's like, oh, we have to take notes and we have to work. And I think we've made it over the last few years seem it's gained prestige among the students, and so it's like, oh, those are the kids that they work hard, but they're more the elite. So, yeah.
Whoops, sorry.
I just wanted to add something. We have what we call sophomore flight in Avid, and again, this is where we have to question what we can do differently. But they hit sophomore year and they're like, this is too much work. I don't want to do this. If they're junior year and like, okay, I need this. So I mean, within the Avid program, I think that's kind of we have a lot of conversations with kids about selling them continually. Outside of Avid, I think all of our schools, at least at the high school, we all have different programs that kids are part of academies. So I think it's just kind of seen as another program. But we have a lot of kids who come to us maybe the end of their sophomore year, junior year, asking us, how can I get in? Which we think, and if we have room, we put them in, because why not? But I think that that's testimony either to our kids sharing the news about how well it's working for them, or maybe teachers saying, hey, you'd be a good candidate for this program. So even though technically you're supposed to kind of go in early and, you know, but if I had a senior that came to me and said I wanted to go in this program and it fits in their schedule, I'd say yes. Yeah. Because why not?
Okay, great.
Very high retention rate between 7th and 8th grade, so kids stick it out. We're fighting great electives at our school. We're the elective school, so it's hard because they want to do all the fun stuff. Yet I think when they look back, it's the process and grind through it. They're very appreciative in 8th grade. Most of them try to go to the Avid schools and they go to the high schools. And I think if we look at 6 or 7 year data and look at kids that left Sequoia Middle in 16, 17, 18, 2 years, and we see them after the fact, and then we'll see some great data. So we need to make sure they go to Avid schools too. Our kids who go to Concord, they enroll in the program. Also, we're an 8-period day. High schools are 6, so it's hard to squeeze all the exciting things in schools. But overall, pretty good at our school.
Good. Thank you. Thanks.
I have a question as well, if that's okay. First of all, just thank you. I think the goals and the motivation behind this program are incredible. It's the kind of framework that we hope to see school-wide everywhere, right? Preparing all of our kids. So my question is just more getting at the high school level, because I can really understand what's happening at the elementary school level, but I also know at the middle and then especially high school, where we have not all of our middle schools have 8 periods. Students are struggling to get all the classes they want, and it's not just the fun classes. It's like if you want to take a foreign language, if you want to take AP classes, there's just so little room in their schedule. So if they're taking Avid to prepare them for college, but then they can't take that foreign language or that AP class, that's a struggle. Do you think long term that as the elementary and middles really get that note-taking stuff down, that it will be needed all 4 years of high school?
That's a really good question. My kids go to Freedom High School and they're on a 4x4 block, and I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. It is a challenge. Having a 6-period day for any program is a challenge. And then there's a whole lot of reasons why it's difficult for us to go to 7 or 8 periods. But we do have to fight. We have to be very creative about how we piece those things together. We talk about doing their language outside of school, but it adds this extra burden on kids who want to, be that kid to have to do things outside of school now. I think you have to have a 4-year program, I think, to be certified. So I don't think that we can eliminate that. So we continue to look for creative options. But you've hit the nail on the head. I think for our biggest challenge is when they hit, especially sophomore year, they have that sophomore year. If they haven't passed the fitness tests, they're taking PE. So then what goes? And many of our sophomores can't get to a 0-period class just because they're not old enough to drive yet, or there's challenges. So how do we creatively still keep them A to G college eligible? What do we push off? We do a lot of pep talking of pass your fitness tests, because that's a big barrier that's hitting us. But we try to be creative with them and say, hey, the bang for the buck is still gonna be there. Maybe you do wait a year for science, even though it doesn't feel right for a normal A to G kid, because you can. Maybe you do your language outside of school, or again, you kind of be creative about that. So it is a huge challenge for us to make that work at the high school level. I personally would love to see a 7-period day, and it's not just for Avid. We could go on and on about other programs that are affected hugely by this, but I'd personally love to see it go to 7-period day or 8-period day, but we all know that comes with a little bit of money, or a lot of money, because it changes contracts and it changes things. But we got to find creative ways that we can make it work for our kids. And I don't have the perfect solution yet, but I'm hoping we can get there.
Thank you. It sounds like maybe that's more of a question for Avid over time, as they build these school-wide, pipelines.
I just want to mention really quickly about the AP courses and the A through G required courses. Part of the Avid certification is that those students, those Avid elective students in high school, are taking AP courses. So the more AP courses, the better. And then they need that support because they're actually taking college level curriculum. So the more rigor, the more support they need. So.
Oh yeah, and they do the application process too. It's huge. Yeah.
Well, thank you all very, very much. It was very interesting, and I know it's late for you. You have to get up early, but it's very helpful. It's very appreciated. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. We're on to item 13.3, job description revision, Director of Fiscal Services. This is on for information tonight. I guess if we have any questions or. Nope. Okay. Okay. It'll come back next time, I presume, right? Okay. Okay. We are moving on to 14.0 consent agenda. So the items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved, adopted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. So I would ask the board if anyone has items you'd like to consider separately.
I was going to pull 14.3.
I'd like to pull 14.2.3.
Any others? No? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for the rest of them.
Madam President, I would move that the consent agenda be adopted as presented with the exception of 14.3 and 14.23, which will be considered separately.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is everybody okay over there? And you got it? Okay, so we'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that passes 5-0-0. Thank you. Okay, should we just vote? No, waiting, okay. So now 14.3 is now 15.3.
I just pulled it because it really should not be an approval because it's already happened. So it should be a ratification of the trip.
And ask how was it, right?
Hope you had a good time because we didn't get to vote on it. So I would go ahead and make the motion that we ratify 14 or 15.1, which is the Northgate High School's trip to Loomis, California on September 6th and 7th.
Second. Okay, we have a first and a second, and we'll go to voice vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee said yes, so that passes 5-0-0. And now we'll go to what would be 15.2, which previously 14.23, Ms. Mayo.
So I'll go ahead and move it, and then I'll ask my question. I move that the board approve the final change order for bid 1825/C 9081.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and second, and I'll have discussion, questions.
So I was just curious what the change order entails, because it says to change this scope from color scheme 2 to color scheme 3. I can think of several reasons why there might be an increase in cost, but I'm interested in knowing because I would always order the more expensive one.
Our Director of Facilities is not here this evening, but our Assistant Director is, and maybe you have a little bit of information for us.
Yes, absolutely, thank you. It was a clerical, we'll say, or design error on our end, where we had went out for bid for a 2-color scheme, being a base color and 1 trim color. However, the paint color schemes that we went and shared with the principals were a 3-color scheme. So we had base color, trim, door trim. And so all of our contracts, this is just one of 3, there'll be 2 more coming forward at the next board meeting, have the same type of thing. So just a material change for the additional paint color.
All right, makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all right, we go to vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes, for 3 colors.
Oh, yeah. Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee says yes, so that passes 5-0-0. Thank you. Okay, we are at district communications, right? Yeah, district organizations at regular board meetings, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation following the consent agenda. Items are limited to those which are informational. Do we have any organizational reps that would like to speak? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to business action item 18.1. Adoption of district's 2018-19 appropriations limit calculation GAM limit resolution number 19/20-14. And this is on for action. So I'll entertain a motion. Or do you want?
I would make a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 1920-14, the district's 2018-19 appropriation limits calculation for the GAN limit, something we have to do every year.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second, and we'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee says yes, that passes 5-0-0. Thank you. 18.2, certification of district's 2018-19 unaudited actual financial report. Also on for action.
Yes, this is on for action. Rose Ramos, our Chief Business Officer, is here to provide a little bit of information on this item for you. Her last performance with us, we have to say that.
Good evening. And I have Mika Oberbite, our Director of Budget, who is going to be co-presenting with me tonight. All right, our presentation, oh, it's coming up. And there should be handouts for everyone. Okay, all right, would you like me to get started anyway? Okay, all right. So this is the year-end financial statements for the year that just ended, 18-19. And they're referred to as the unaudited actuals because they have not yet been audited, which is the next step in the process. So for those of you that have the slide presentation, we are on page 2. And what we're looking at right now is the general fund, both the unrestricted and restricted financial statements for the school district. And what this slide shows is the total expenditures and the total revenues, 2 pie charts side by side, just to show you the different components of each category for expenditures and revenues. So for expenditures, we had expenses that totaled $387,375,060. For revenues, we had $379,334,193. Obviously, revenue is less than expenses, which is not surprising. We've been talking about that for some time now, that because of various factors, mainly declining enrollment and the increased costs in our personnel costs that are outpacing the increase in revenue. So what we've done is we have definitely shored up our reserves so that we could mitigate the deficit, because we are operating at a deficit every year, not a surprise. But we know that that amount is dwindling and has for the last few years. So you're going to see that decrease significantly. So as soon as that pie chart comes up, you'll see the different categories with salaries and benefits, of course, being the biggest chunk of our expense side. And then, oh, here we go. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Joe. Okay, here we go. So this is what I was referring to. You have your expenditures over on the left side and your revenues over on the right. For expenses, you'll see that our salaries and benefits make up the biggest chunk at 84.92% of the entire budget, you know, which is pretty significant. And then our other expenses make up a lesser percentage. You have your books and supplies, your services, your capital outlay, which is a very small amount. Most of the capital outlay comes from your other sources, your other funds, and then your other outgo. On the revenue side, of course, LCFF is the biggest chunk at almost 73%, with a little bit of federal, state revenue, and a little bit of local, which is your donations and your local grants.
Rose, if we have questions, can we ask them on these slides or at the end? Which would you?
Whichever you prefer. Yeah.
I'll go with now. 85% of expenditures being towards salary and benefits. How does that compare with other school districts throughout California?
This is lower because most of their districts right now, they're trending towards like the high 80s and low 90s, and that's natural. But you're going to see that jump because when we break it out by restricted versus just isolating restricted and unrestricted, you're going to see that percentage change quite significantly. And it's natural because on the unrestricted side pays for the majority of your personnel costs. A lot of the restricted resources do not fund salaries. So you'll see a shift. But overall, this is trending pretty low, actually. I mean, it should be about 85%, but I'm just saying in comparison to what other districts are actually doing, it is low.
And then, I'm not sure everyone's familiar with, where would things like district administrative staff, which bucket would they fall in?
It depends if they're, for example, I'm classified, I am administrative staff, I'd be classified. But if you have an administrator here that is certificated, they would be in your certificated. So it just depends on.
It's a mix, thank you.
Yeah, yes it is. But we're all in the benefit category. And then the next slide is just the numbers. It's just the same information, but this time what we wanted to do was to provide you with, the last time you saw an estimation of where we were going to end the year was when we adopted the budget. So that's your right column. Over to the left is where we actually ended the year. So of course your beginning balance is the same, nothing changed. Your revenue did change, it went up a little bit, and that was because, and you'll see the explanation in other slides, that on the restricted side we got some late funding that came in, and then there was a little bit of an adjustment on the LCFF COLA, so that changed. The lottery was another, there was another adjustment made to the per ADA lottery amount. And then as well on the expense side, you're going to see a big change there, and again, because of the estimated time, we have to plan for spending all the money when it comes to the restricted side. On the restricted side, you can't adjust the budget down to what you think you can spend. You have to build that budget based on the revenue that you're getting in. So if you get $100 from a restricted resource, you have to budget $100 in expenses. Versus on the unrestricted, we have that flexibility to reduce that and adjust it. So that's why you're going to see a big change here, and it's mostly on the restricted side, unspent dollars, and that's coming. This is a new one, and we wanted to point this out to you specifically because it's one that we have to keep our eye on. It's the inter-fund transfer outs. We've not had this before. We've had minor. This is the amount of money we had to transfer to our cafeteria fund to pay for unpaid meals. We had a large amount of students this year who just, were not able to pay, did not fill out their free and reduced lunch application, and we can't control that. We can't force them, of course, but they need to eat. So this is the amount of money we have to transfer from the unrestricted general fund to the cafeteria fund to cover for these unpaid meals. Typically, we used to maybe average about 10, 20,000 maybe on a high side for unpaid meals. So this is quite a dramatic jump up, and so we're trying our best.
That's because people are afraid they're not going to turn up and form. So I don't blame them. They're afraid too.
So that's the line, that's the $229,000 is what we're talking about there?
It's an expense, yes, to the general fund and restricted. So then you have your ending fund balance. We were projecting to end at 26 million. We ended up at 49. And you'll see that most of it is restricted, excuse me, in the slides coming up. So as you go down, you'll see that of that 49 million, 19 is restricted. So it's the majority of it. And then there's our economic uncertainty, and then our 17 million is our other unassigned on the unrestricted, and we'll explain that as we go on. So now I am going to turn it over to Mika, and she's going to go into the details on the unrestricted and restricted.
So now we are looking at the unrestricted side of the house. This is only for general fund. The pie chart right side is showing the revenue. As you can see, the blue one is the main part, that's the LCFF revenue. This is based on the ADA, average daily attendance. More kids come to school, we will have more funding. And we receive some state revenue and some local revenue. And the expenditure side, like Rose said, the majority of it is the salary and benefit. So next one, this is again the comparison between the 18-19 estimated actual that we did at the 1920 adoption back in May, compared to the actual number from 18-19. And you see the jump in the revenue. This is again mostly lottery rate, fourth quarter rate increased. And also the use permit that we collect from outside organization, that we have more collection than we anticipated. Contribution was increased too. It shows negative because it's going out of the unrestricted side, but it has increased. This is the contribution mainly to special ed and routine restricted maintenance. So after the revenue and the expenditure, our ending fund balance in unrestricted side is about 5.8 million more, 30 million right now. This is about the 1.5% of the total actual expenditure, the difference. So this one is showing the restricted side. It's categorical funds, federal funds, state funds, local revenues. And left side is the expenditure. It's more distributed kind of evenly. Restricted side is we can't pay the base salary or base programs. We have to make sure that we don't supplant. We are supplementing the base program. So the salary and benefit on restricted side is now 71%. And next one is the numbers comparing again estimated actuals and the actual numbers that we ended with. The revenue is about 10 million more. This is actually because of the STRS and the PERS on behalf. It's not real revenue that we are receiving. It's more like booking thing. We are required to book revenue and expenditure the same amount to show how much the liability is. And the new thing this year was PERS on behalf that we were not budgeted at adoption time. So it was about 13 million increase. But then we have Title 1, 2, 3, 4, and those programs that we have to defer. So the revenue went down about 3 million, and so plus minus 10 million increase in revenue. And the contribution, again, receiving from unrestricted side increased. And expenditure is a little down because of the carryovers. When we budget, like Rod said, we have to budget everything. But then with the deferred revenue and also the carryover for school site budget. So actual amount is less than we anticipated back in May. So ending fund balance on restricted side is now 19 million. And I would like to hand over to Rose with the last slide.
And this concludes the almost presentation. This is just an explanation on the change in the ending fund balance from budget adoption to unaudited actuals, just to provide a little more clarity. So on the unrestricted side, we saw an increase of 5.8 million, and this was due to the revenue increase of 1.6. It was in lottery, it was interest on earnings also, and then some of the facility use fees. And then another piece of the 4.2 was due to carryover, and then we did have a expenditure restriction plan in place about mid-year last year to try to curtail our expenses, and it did help, and that is reflected here. And that carryover includes our sites unrestricted allocations. The sites do get a portion of that money to use, and so some of that money is that belongs to the sites. On the restricted side, that's where you're going to see the biggest increase, the 17.5 million change, and that's carryover mostly on the maintenance and facility side, 12.5 million. Obviously, they can't spend everything, but there's plans for those projects, and they cover multiple years. So we have that detail for that. And the other piece is restricted lottery. That's just for textbook adoptions, and that's a pretty strict resource as well. That's 2 million. And then this is a new grant that we got mid-year, the low performing student block grant of $2 million, which there are already plans underway this year to spend that money. And then just a variety of other restricted resources of 1 million. These are local donations, fundraisers at the school sites that are earmarked for specific projects, and so we do record them on the restricted side. So this is just, a summary of, that change, because it's, creates a little bit of question about why we ended a little higher than what we said, and it's mostly, as you see, due to the restricted side of the house. So that's the presentation. If there are any questions at this point.
I just wanted to say that for my first several years on the board, we really struggled with the fiscal numbers and frankly, just the reliability of the answers that we received from our fiscal department. I just wanted to say thank you, Rose, for everything you've done. You've been just a tremendous resource, and I've had so much more confidence with the department under your leadership, and just a very sincere thank you for everything you've done, and you will truly be missed.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to serve you. Thank you.
So, okay, I just want to add to that also. I totally agree, and we're going to miss you a lot. And I don't understand why you don't want to keep commuting. That's the only reason I'm letting you off the hook, because I know you have to commute. So, but yeah, we really wish you well, and thank you for all that you've done. Okay. Okay, so that actually.
Do we need action? Yeah.
We need an action on that, so we need a motion.
Madam President, I would move that the board approve item 18.2, certification of the district's 18-19 unaudited actual financial report.
Second. Okay, we have a first and a second. We'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee says yes. That passes 5-0-0. Thank you. Okay, 18.3 is the contract between Mount Airy Unified School District and AVID for continued program implementation at College Park, Concord, and Ignacio Valley High Schools, El Dorado, Oak Grove, Pleasant Hill, and Sequoia Middle Schools, College Now, Bel Air, Delta View, Hidden Valley, Highlands, Mountain View, Rio Vista, Shoreacre Elementary Schools, and new implementation at El Monte, Fair Oaks, Pleasant Hill, Westwood Elementary Schools, and Pine Hollow Middle Schools. This is on for action.
Madam President, I move that we approve the contract between the district and AVID for continued program implementation as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. We'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee votes yes, so that passes 5-0-0. Thank you. Is everybody okay over there? We're going, I know it's, yeah, okay, all right. Just 18.4, Ignacio Valley High School's new course of study for the International Baccalaureate IB program for the 2019-20 school year. This is also on for action. A motion or a question?
Make a motion that we approve the Ignacio Valley High School's new course of study to be added to the IB program for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second? Okay.
I would just like to commend, I know there was some concern around the science offerings at Ignacio Valley High School, and I know Principal Huckabee worked closely with staff and came up with some creative solutions to actually expand and now have the broadest offering of IB science classes that they've had there. And so I think it's a great step forward, and excited to be supporting this.
Okay, we'll go to vote. Mr. Lawrence?
Vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo? Yes. Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee votes yes, so that passes 5-0-0. Thank you. 18.5, the Adult Education Lifelong Education Program courses and classes for 2019-2020.
Madam President, I move that we approve item 18.5, the Adult Education and Lifelong Education Program courses and classes for 2019-2020.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo? Yes. Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee votes yes, and that passes 5-0-0. Thank you.
And I want to thank Adult Education for working so hard to provide programs that our adult community welcomes and supports.
Thank you. 18.6, annual renewal of the Power School, formerly SunGuard Tech Services contract.
I make a motion that we approve the annual renewal of the Power School Services contract in the amount of $75,953.69 for the service period of October 1st through September 30th, 2019.
Second.
Should be 2020.
Right, thank you.
Should be 2020. There was just a clerical error there.
Okay. We have
Run the clock backwards.
We have a first and a second. We'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
Vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee votes yes. That passes 5-0-0. Thank you. 18.7, award a project to Bell Products Incorporated for Concord High School emergency HVAC installation in two counselors' two counselors' offices. It's on for action. We have a motion.
Madam President, I move that we approve the award of project to Bell Products Incorporated for the purpose stated.
Second.
We have a first and a second. We'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee votes yes. That passes 5-0-0. Thank you. 18.8, Eagle Peak Montessori School on the proposed site plan. We saw this, we heard about it and had some discussion last meeting, so it's on for action tonight. If we have a motion.
I make a motion we approve the proposed site plan for the Eagle Peak Montessori School.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We'll go to the vote. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee votes yes. That passes 5-0-0.
And thank you for all your preparation of that proposal.
That's the very last item. Sorry about that. Just didn't think about it though. Okay, that's it. And we don't have a need for a meeting extension. We have a couple of documents to sign. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.